Boom.
We're machines. We're on a roll. We're knocking them out of the park.
We're efficient.
Well, we're professionals. We're just dynamic and amazing.
I love that you called us professionals.
Oddities. Stay strange.
I know that's the least true. Welcome back to another. I was gonna say welcome back to another Oddities. That works too. Welcome back to another one. I'm Cassie.
I'm Kelly.
And welcome back to Strange Town. This is a double record today, so
Triple
heads
record,
up.
essentially.
A triple record essentially because we also had a bonus. As per usual, everything's in the description, and that includes several items. 1, our social media links. 2, our Patreon link. If you'd like to donate to our show, please, for the love of God, consider doing so, because if you could do it for as low as $1 a month, and we'd love you endlessly. And you get cool benefits when you do it. If you're curious, check it out. 3, we have a merch shop. We run sales all the time because I know that some of the prices can be alarming. So check out the sales. We'll try our best to let you know when they're coming. And 4, our website is also linked there. You can message us with a story or a topic, or you can email us directly. The website also has links to all of the other things that I have mentioned. Yay!
You did
Enjoy
it!
the show. Yeah. And if we had sponsors, this is probably where we'd include a sponsor message. But behold, we don't, and we should.
Do you know who I was thinking should sponsor us?
Who?
The freaking creators of Played Up, because I talk about that game so much.
You talk about that shit all the time, yes. Actually, several video games have been discussed on this shit.
Yes, that's very true, actually. So
I would even take it like, I would take like a stamps.com sponsorship. Like,
yeah.
I don't even give a fuck. You know, I'll talk that shit up all day if y'all.
Trying.
The good news is too, kids, we'd make it so you could skip through it if you wanted.
Yep.
So like, even if you're not interested in that, we could make some bank. You guys could just listen to us and skip through it. It's a win-win.
Sponsor us.
It'd be
anyone.
that way. God, please, just do it. So anyway, how's my bestie on that happen note?
I'm good.
Did you save anything? Because I failed to.
I did.
Oh, okay. Oh, the text of the week. Message of the week, whatever. I know exactly what's coming.
Okay, so the wonderful, the amazing, the beautiful Cassie sends me a TikTok this week. And it is a reaction of a young girl watching Casper.
First of all, it's an adult pretending to be a young girl.
It is an adult pretending to be a young girl, and it's her reenacting the moment when Casper comes into his human form, right?
And is a total babe.
And Cassie's like, this
teenage dream.
This was exactly me, right? And I fucking died. I was laughing so hard. And then I was like, for shits and giggles, I want to know what he looks like now. So,
still a babe.
Looked him up, screenshotted it, sent it to our messages with zero context of who he was. And she just goes, still fine. Still would tap it.
Were you shocked that I knew who it was?
Immediately. It was like so fast. And that's what I thought was hilarious. That you just immediately knew. And hold on. It gets better. It gets better.
That's not all, kids. There's more.
After dying, Cassie replies, I had good taste at the ripe old age of whatever. Like 4 or something, probs. And I said, young Cassie knew, LOL. Oh, beg my own finest pardon, I was 3.
Beg my own finest pardon. That's it. I was 3. I knew listen, there's nothing wrong with knowing what you like.
Hold on.
And for me, it was Casper.
She then goes on, you fucking go, young Cass Money.
That's it. Cass Money.
And I died. I was dead, deceased. And that is...
You're welcome.
That is the... And then I promptly said, this will be discussed tomorrow.
And behold, here we are.
Here we are. I held my end.
Living up to that.
I almost posted this to our stories.
You can.
I
mean,
still
you totally
might.
can.
Like, it was...
Permission. Permission granted. You have to agree, he's a handsome guy.
No, he totally is. It was just the level of unhinged that conversation was, which...
It's a direct reflection of how I've been operating this whole week.
Exactly. Exactly. You took the words right out of my fucking mouth. I
love when we reach that zone.
I do too, actually. Because I think we both hit a level of unhinged yesterday that was just like, we're done. We're done.
And that's, yep.
You know, I'm giving
That's
a
a
dog
wrap.
eye drops. 2 sets of eye drops 4 times a day. And it's fine because I love her and I would do anything for the precious baby.
Swaddled like a little baby.
A little baby
Yep.
toe. She grunts at me when I do it and I sing It's a Small World and it's fine.
You know what? All animals have like their song because growing up we had a cat named Bubble and she was a psycho. A fucking like this cat
had
had
that bubble.
problems. She had issues, yeah. And so one time Bubble had to go to the vet and she was losing it. And
Bubble.
the Righteous Brothers, You've Lost That Love and Feeling came on the radio and it was silent. It was her song. And so then I burned a CD of that song just like 12 times over. And that became Bubble's CD.
Wow.
So for
That was
Anastasia, it's a small world.
That was Bubbles' kryptonite.
That was it. You've lost that love and feeling. And like all was right in the world when that song came on. And so for Anastasia, it's a small world. How did you discover that?
I don't know. I just started singing it. And actually, it's not
And
even...
here we are.
It's not... Like, we kind of don't even sing the lyrics half the time. We just go
Do just like...
do da do dibby ba zippy ba.
I love that version.
She dances around for us. Like it doesn't
Hell
matter.
yeah.
It doesn't matter what lyrics we do. As long
Next
as
time
we have
I'm out,
the
I'm
tune.
doing it.
As long as we have the tune, she just like she gets all happy.
Same.
So.
I love your version.
Last night.
And now it's stuck in my head.
Yeah, last night. Well, it's that fucking song.
It is. Fuck that song.
Last night when I had to do the eye drops, I have to wait 5 minutes in between the eye drops because you have to let it absorb, right? So I'm like sitting there holding her in the burrito at 11 o'clock at night, and I'm just singing it, and she's just like looking at me like, what the hell is wrong with you though? Because she wasn't able to dance.
She's like, don't play my shit if I can't even get into it. God. What a tragedy.
I also discovered in this process that the dogs love cantaloupe.
Oh, okay.
So she's learned that after her eye drops, she gets a little cantaloupe treat. Little melon treat.
Oh, so it's like a little like, yeah, we're like conditioning.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And actually Rufio knows if he lays next to her while getting the eye drops, he gets the treat too. He
too will get a cantaloupe treat.
He has to be the emotional support dog.
Dapper boy. We love it. Good puppers. Our dogs right now are walking around looking like a couple of jackasses because Corey and I groomed them ourselves and something went wrong.
Oh no.
And they look like assholes.
I need pictures.
Yeah. Boo looks like she has crop circles on her from the clippers. Like it made like tracks and it just doesn't look good. Donut, we tried to trim her pants. Corey didn't like how I did it. He took it and then he like shaved her too far up and now her butt is a different color from the rest of her body. So both of them just look like jackasses right now, if I'm being real with you. But, like, that's okay. They don't seem to care.
Trimmed her pants.
We tried to trim her, yeah, her little pants. We also tried to trim her majestic tuft, and that came out choppy as fuck. She just looks a hot mess at the moment. Now, what's concerning to me is we have a vet appointment at the beginning of July, and I'm afraid I'm going to bring them in, and he's going to be like, what the fuck are you doing to these dogs?
So to avoid track marks, that
Yes.
sounds like a drug reference.
It does, but that's what they are.
Come
So
up, so the hair's standing up, and then you
Yes.
shave down.
yes, yes,
Just letting you know.
yes. There are two challenges with that.
Boo.
One,
Just boo.
it's Boo, and two, it's us. So
No, we could just leave it at boo.
okay, all right. So anyway, that's the update that I have in our animal world. So
I need pictures.
I'll take some pictures. They look like assholes. I showed my parents. So sometimes during the week, when I have time, I will FaceTime my parents during lunch, and we'll have lunch together.
Aww.
And I held up the phone and showed them, and both of my parents started laughing at us immediately.
No.
Like, it is evident. It's not. But somehow they still look cute. Like, they're just adorable little babies. So
Is there core
everybody
babies?
gets a bad haircut. I've been there.
We've all been there.
I also told you about my chunky Kelly Clarkson highlights back in the day, right?
No.
You've never heard about the Kelly Clarkson highlights?
No.
Oh my God. Okay, well, buckle the fuck up. The listeners have heard this before, but if you haven't, now you're going to get a treat. The 6th grade, I had, like, a little context, huge crush on this boy who also had, like, a huge crush on me. And it was, like, very much a will they, won't they? Like, are they going to, like, date? Are they not?
Tea.
They didn't. We didn't. It didn't happen. But anyway, so we were at the height of, like, this crush. And Kelly Clarkson is, like, hot on the scene with her
Yeah.
chunky ass highlights, big ass blonde highlights. And I was like, oh my God, gotta have it. So Mom and I go to Rite Aid, which I don't know if you guys have that out your way. It's
Yeah.
basically like a CVS. Okay, yeah. So we go to Rite Aid, and we pick up box dye, and it has this special brush for, like, chunky highlights. And we're like, okay, sick. Mom does it. Somewhere along the process, something went very horribly wrong, and I ended up with 3 large chunks, one on each side and a streak in the back. And it was, like, very much not the look. She was like, okay, well, we have to leave it. Like, I can't dye it back right this minute. So you have to go to school like this tomorrow. And I was like, okay, it looks okay, right? She was like, yeah, it looks great. So I went to school, roasted the entire fucking day. One of those people roasting me was my crush. Like, the last period of the day, we're working on this big project, and my teacher's going around, like, taking pictures of us because he's going to make, like, this poster for this parents' night. He comes up to me, looks at it, goes, that's a nice, like, you're doing a great job painting, and then walks away. He took pictures of everybody else but me. I went home, lost my shit, we dyed my hair back, and I was back to normal. But herein lies the kicker. I no longer had a crush because I discovered that boy was an asshole. And 2, it's fine, I dodged the bullet because then he went on to go into juvie. So
Success.
that is the legend of the chunky highlights.
Also, like, well, yes, that teacher that was fucked up of that teacher to not take a picture of you. Bless that teacher for not giving evidence of the chunky highlights.
Yeah, it was like, okay,
in hindsight,
thank you, Mr. Hill. Yeah. Thanks, Mr. Hill. I think the thing that makes it infinitely worse is I was 11. It was middle school. It was the dark ages of life.
Oh.
It just doesn't get worse than that time. Like, it's just.
Oh, it's horrendous.
And I don't even think we could even recreate today if we had the exact same box mix, the exact same applicator. I don't think we could create that fiasco. I don't know how it happened. Mom was meticulous. She tried real hard with that shit.
I'm so.
Anyway,
know what it was? It was middle school. That
it was middle.
The problem.
It was just middle school is the Mercury retrograde of life.
We need T-shirts that say that exact
That's
line.
it. That is precisely what it is it not? I mean, that's...
It's 100% it.
So anyway, now everybody, for those of you who had to hear it again, there's the refresher on the legend of the chunky highlights. For those of you, Kelly included, welcome. That's a little piece of my trauma history. So we hate that boy, and he went to juvie anyway, so it's okay.
Damn. I'm so sorry.
And if somebody comes in and their hair looks like shit, kids, just leave them alone. They probably know it looks like shit.
Leave them alone.
Leave them alone. And that's it. So that's the Kelly Clarkson highlights. I can laugh about it now, but
the thing
it's
I
not
love
cool.
about Kelly Clarkson is that she, every time she covers a song.
I know, she's so good. She's so good. And the chunky highlights looked great on Kelly, okay?
Okay, well,
they
Kelly,
just didn't work for me.
What is it that Kelly can't do wrong?
True. So, there you have it. That's the more you know.
So, well, we made it past our 13 minutes on this one. So, I guess
we didn't think we could do it.
Yeah, I guess we made up for last week.
That's true.
So, suck it, everyone. Anyways.
Suck it.
What? You have quite a long topic today. I have longer than last week, but still short. Would you like to, because I went first 2 weeks in a row, would you like to go first again today?
Yeah, I'm going to bless our listeners with my melodic speaking voice. So today, I'm covering conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy theory. This is from honorary cousin listener Michael. Thank you.
Thank you, cousin
I'm covering
Michael.
Thank you, cousin Michael. I'm covering the JFK assassination conspiracy theories. There are so many. For reference, kids, my notes originally started as 34 pages. I've cut it down to 14.
Yeah.
Okay. So, the assassination, first of all, when I read assassination, I read it in my mind the way that I read it in my mind when I'm going to spell it, which is ass-ination. Okay. But anyway, the assassination of President John F. Kennedy on November 22nd, 1963, has spawned many a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
These theories allege a lot of different things, but some in the involvement of the CIA, the mafia, Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson, Cuban Prime Minister Fidel Castro, the KGB, some combination of all of these different entities, some other ones, cover up by the government, the Warren Commission, what have you. So it's been estimated by former LA District Attorney Vincent Bugliosi that a total of 42 groups, 82 assassins, and 214 people have been accused at one time or another in various conspiracy scenarios.
Yeah.
So, like I said, November 22nd, here we are. We kind of know the story, everybody. 1963, JFK is assassinated while traveling in a motorcade in an open-top limousine in Dallas, Texas. Lee Harvey Oswald was arrested for the murder of Dallas policeman J.D. Tippit and arraigned for both murders. November 24th, nightclub owner Jack Ruby kills Oswald. Immediately after President Kennedy was shot, many people suspected that the assassination was part of a larger plot. Broadcasters speculated that Dallas right-wingers were involved. Ruby's murder of Oswald compounded the initial suspicions. Author Mark Lane has been described as firing the first literary shot with his article Defense Brief for Oswald in the National Guardian's December 19th, 1963 issue. Thomas Buchanan's book Who Killed Kennedy, published in May 1964, has been credited as the first book to allege a conspiracy. And in 1964, the Warren Commission concluded that Oswald had acted alone and that no credible evidence supported the contention that he was involved in a conspiracy to assassinate the president. We shall see. So here come the conspiracy theories. There are a lot of different categories of these, but conspiracy theorists tend to consider 4 or 5 groups, alone or in combination, to be the primary suspects in the assassination of Kennedy. As mentioned, we've got the CIA, the military industrial complex, organized crime, government of Cuba, led by Castro, and Cuban exiles. Other domestic individuals, groups, or organizations implicated in various conspiracy theories include Lyndon B. Johnson, George H.W. Bush, Sam Giancana, Carlos Marcello, Edgar Hoover, or J. Edgar Hoover, rather, Earl Warren, and the FBI and the U.S. Secret Service. We go on and on and on. One of these conspiracies is called the New Orleans conspiracy. So, New Orleans District Attorney Jim Garrison begins an investigation into the Kennedy assassination in 1966. So, like 3 years after the assassination. And he develops this theory of a plot that included a group of New Orleans residents in his jurisdiction. He writes a book in 1988 called On the Trail of Assassins, and it discusses his prosecution of Clay Shaw for the assassination. And this was partially adapted by Oliver Stone for his 1991 film JFK. The final report of the Assassination Records Review Board, or ARRB, states that the film popularized a version of Kennedy's assassination that featured U.S. government agents from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Central Intelligence Agency, and the military as conspirators. Journalist Rosemary James, whose article with Jack Dempsey and David Snyder in the New Orleans State's item broke the news of the Garrison investigation, stated that because Garrison's theory evolved frequently, it was mockingly called the, quote, theory du jour by the media. Essentially, the theory is, it goes like this. There's like a secret government within our government, a cabal that in 1963 ordered the murder of JFK, set up a patsy, installed its own puppet, and orchestrates an elaborate cover-up that included tampering with the corpse, destroying and suppressing evidence, and killing witnesses. Heading that were some of the world's most powerful men, rich and corrupt industrialists, generalists, right-wing politicians. Down below was an eclectic group of mobsters, spooks, lowlifes, and anti-Castro extremists, many of whom were headquartered at the 544 Camp Street in New Orleans, including Oswald, former FBI agent Guy Bannister, soldier of fortune David Ferry, and suspected CIA informant Clay Shaw. And together, in the summer of 1963, they plotted Kennedy's demise. Soon after the assassination, Oswald's activities in New Orleans, Louisiana, during the spring and summer of 1963 came under scrutiny. 3 days after the assassination, November 25th, New Orleans attorney Dean Andrews tells the FBI he receives a telephone call from a man named Clay Bertrand on the day of the assassination asking him to defend Oswald. Andrews would later repeat this claim in testimony to the Warren Commission. Also in late November 1963, an employee of the New Orleans private investigator, Guy Bannister, named Jack Martin, begins making accusations that fellow Bannister employee David Ferry was involved in the JFK assassination. Martin tells police that Ferry, quote, was supposed to have been the gateway pilot in the assassination, and he said that Ferry had outlined plans to kill Kennedy and that Ferry might have taught Oswald how to use a rifle with a telescopic sight. Martin claims that Ferry had known Oswald from their days in the New Orleans Civil Air Patrol and that he had seen a photograph at Ferry's house of Oswald in a Civil Air Patrol group. Ferry denies any association with Oswald. And then it's later discovered that Ferry had attended Civil Air Patrol meetings in New Orleans in the 1950s that were also attended by teenage Lee Harvey Oswald. There is a photograph that was taken in 1955, 8 years before the assassination, showing Oswald and Ferry at the Civil Air Patrol at a cookout with other cadets. Whether Oswald's and Ferry's association with the Civil Air Patrol in 1955 is relevant to their later possible association in 1963 is a subject of debate. According to several witnesses, in 1963, the two individuals, Ferry and Bannister, were working for lawyer G. Ray Jill on behalf of Jill's client, which was a mafia boss, Carlos Marcello, in an attempt to block Marcello's deportation to Guatemala. On the afternoon of November 22nd, 1963, the day of the assassination, Marcello was acquitted in his deportation case, And New Orleans private investigator Guy Bannister and his employee Jack Martin were drinking together at a local bar. And on their return to the office, the two men got into a heated argument. And according to Martin, Bannister said something to which Martin replied, "What are you going to do? Kill me like you killed Kennedy?" Bannister draws his .357 Magnum revolver and pistol whips Martin several times. Martin, badly injured, goes by ambulance to Charity Hospital. Meanwhile, earlier in the spring of 1963, Oswald had written to the New York City headquarters of the Pro-Castro Fair Play for Cuba Committee, proposing to rent a small office at my own expense for the purpose of forming a FPCC branch here in New Orleans. As the sole member of the New Orleans chapter, he ordered 1,000 leaflets with the heading "Hands Off Cuba" from a local printer. On August 16, 1963, Oswald passed out these leaflets in front of the International Trade Mart in New Orleans. And one of his leaflets had the address 544 Camp Street hand-stamped on it, apparently by Oswald himself. And this housed the Cuban Revolutionary Council, a militant anti-Castro group. Around the corner, but located in the same building with a different entrance, was the address 531 Lafayette Street, the address of Guy Bannister Associates, a private detective agency run by Guy Bannister. And that office was involved in anti-Castro and private investigative activities in New Orleans. And a CIA file indicates that in September of 1960, the CIA had considered using Guy Bannister Associates for the collection of foreign intelligence, but ultimately decided against it. So there's like a lot of these like kind of tenuous threads across these different individuals for this New Orleans conspiracy that's really interesting to me. In 1966, when the district attorney, Jim Garrison, starts this investigation into the, assassination of Kennedy, Garrison's investigation led him to conclude that a group of right-wing extremists, including David Ferry and Guy Bannister, were involved with elements of the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, in a conspiracy to kill Kennedy. And he later claims that the motive for the assassination was anger over Kennedy's attempts to obtain a peace settlement in both Cuba and Vietnam. Garrison came to believe that New Orleans businessman Clay Shaw was part of the conspiracy and that Clay Shaw used the pseudonym Clay Bertrand. Garrison also further believed that Shaw, Bannister, and Ferry conspired to set up Oswald as a patsy for the assassination. On March 1st, 1967, Garrison arrests and charges Shaw with conspiring to assassinate Kennedy. And on January 29th, 1969, Clay Shaw was brought to trial on these charges, but the jury found him not guilty. So that's one. Another one is the CIA conspiracy. So this is addressing speculation that Oswald was actually a CIA agent or had some relationship with the agency.
Yeah.
The Warren Commission states in 1964 that their investigation revealed no evidence that Oswald was in fact ever employed by the CIA in any capacity. The House Select Committee on Assassinations reported similarly in 1979 that there was no indication in Oswald's CIA file that he had ever had any contact with the agency, and concluded, therefore, that the CIA was not involved in the assassination. Another investigator wrote that investigators were pressured not to look into the relationship between Lee Harvey Oswald and the CIA, and he stated that the CIA agent David Atlee Phillips, using the pseudonym Maurice Bishop, was involved with Oswald prior to the Kennedy assassination in connection with anti-Castro Cuban groups. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
There's also in 1995, a former U.S. Army intelligence officer and NSA executive assistant John M. Newman published evidence that both the CIA and FBI deliberately tampered with their files on Lee Harvey Oswald, both before and after the assassination. He found that both agencies withheld information that might have alerted authorities in Dallas that Oswald posed a potential threat to the president. So some feel that this CIA chief of counterintelligence James Angleton is probably the key figure in the assassination. According to Newman, only Angleton had the access, authority, and diabolically ingenious mind to manage this sophisticated plot. And it was surmised that the cover operation was not under James Angleton, but under Allen Dulles, the former CIA director and later Warren Commission member, who had been dismissed by Kennedy after the failed Bay of Pigs invasion. 1977, FBI releases 40,000 files pertaining to the assassination, including an April 3rd, 1967 memorandum from Deputy Director Cartha Del Roche to Associate Director Clyde Tolson that was written less than a month after President Johnson learned from J. Edgar Hoover about CIA plots to kill Fidel Castro. And the memorandum reads, quote, Marvin Watson, advisor to President Johnson, called me late last night and stated that the president had told him in an off moment that he was now convinced that there was a plot in connection with the JFK assassination. Watson stated that the president felt that the CIA had something to do with the plot. Later, it was testified to the Church Committee that this is sheer speculation. So there's another arm of the equation. Another example is something known as the shadow government conspiracy.
Mm-hmm.
Woo, spooky. So one conspiracy theory states that a secret or a shadow government, including wealthy industrialists, right-wing politicians, they ordered the assassination of Kennedy. It's been indicated that Kennedy's death was allowed for policy reversals desired by the secret government to escalate the U.S.'s military involvement in Vietnam. There's supposedly an attempt by America's Rockefeller family to gain control over West Irian gold mines in Indonesia. In particular, the substantially gold-rich Grasberg mine. And it's speculated that President Kennedy's close relationship with Indonesian President Sukarno and a planned 1964 U.S.-Indonesian summit could have led to Indonesia granting independence to West Irian, making it difficult for Rockefeller-owned Freeport Sulphur to gain control of the mines. It contends that Allen Dulles, who I had mentioned previously in one of the other theories, had ties to the Rockefellers through his employment at Sullivan and Cromwell, and organized the assassination on the Rockefellers' behalf to eliminate Kennedy's interference by easing Lee Harvey Oswald's return to the U.S. and getting him a job at the Texas School Book Depository before instigating a coup in Indonesia with the cooperation of military officer Suharto to discredit the Communist Party of Indonesia. And the subsequent nationwide massacres and Suharto's assumption of the presidency Polgrain purports and led to Freeport securing the mines with the approval of Suharto's pro-Western government. There's been a lot of examination over this guy Dulles' career. Mm-hmm. It's posited that he orchestrated the assassination of Kennedy at the behest of corporate leaders. It's kind of similar in this whole Rockefeller thing. So that's another arm of it. Another one is the military-industrial complex. This stems from a farewell speech given by U.S. President Dwight D. Eisenhower before he left office in 1961, warning the nation about the power of the military establishment and the arms industry. Quote, in the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. And some conspiracy theorists have argued that Kennedy planned to end the involvement of the U.S. in Vietnam and was therefore targeted by those who had interest in sustained military conflict there, including the Pentagon and defense contractors. Former U.S. Senator Ralph Yarborough in 1991 states, quote, had Kennedy lived, I think we would have had no Vietnam War with all of its traumatic and divisive influences in America. I think he would have escaped that. According to author James W. Douglas, Kennedy was assassinated because he was turning away from the Cold War and seeking a negotiated peace with the Soviet Union. And Douglas argued that this was not the kind of leadership that the CIA, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the military-industrial complex wanted in the White House. And thus, they assassinated him. There's an arm of it that says the Secret Service did this. So the House Select Committee on Assassinations reported that it investigated alleged Secret Service complicity in the assassination and concluded that the Secret Service was not involved, but the HSCA declared that, quote, the Secret Service was deficient in the performance of its duties. And among its finding, it was noted 1, that Kennedy had not received adequate protection in Dallas, 2, the Secret Service possessed information that was not properly analyzed, investigated, or used by the Secret Service in connection with the president's trip to Dallas, and 3, that the Secret Service agents in the motorcade were inadequately prepared to protect the president from a sniper. And so the HSCA specifically noted no actions were taken by the agent in the right front seat of the presidential limousine, Roy Kellerman, to cover the president with his body, although it would have been consistent with Secret Service procedure for him to have done so. The primary function of the agent was to remain at all times in close proximity to the president in the event of such emergencies. Some argue that the distinct lack of Secret Service protection occurred because Kennedy himself had asked that the Secret Service make itself really discreet during the visit. But Vince Palomara, who interviewed several Secret Service agents assigned to the Kennedy detail, disputes this, and Secret Service driver Sam Kinney told him that requests such as removing the bubble top from the limousine in Dallas, not having agents positioned beside the limousine's rear bumper, and reducing the number of Dallas police motorcycle outriders near the limousine's rear bumper were not made by Kennedy. Abraham Bolden, who also was the first African American on the White House Secret Service detail, so snaps for Abraham, claimed to have overheard agents say that they would not protect Kennedy from would-be assassins. Questions regarding the forthrightness of the Secret Service increased in the 1990s when the Assassination Records Review Board, which was created when Congress passed the JFK Records Act, requested access to Secret Service records, and the Review Board was told by the Secret Service that in January of 1995, in violation of the JFK Records Act, the Secret Service destroyed protective survey reports that covered JFK's trips from September 24th through November 8th of 1963. It seems sketch-alleged, right?
That's sketchy.
Super sketchy. Now, granted, he was assassinated a couple weeks later.
Abraham was?
But
sorry.
No.
Okay.
JFK was. But if those reports were survey reports that covered his trips in the lead up, and something started happening during those, and then the reports were destroyed. I don't know. It all just seems really weird. Why even bother? There is Cuban exiles is another one. There's this organized crime conspiracy, which is a super, super interesting one, but also really long. So if you guys want me to do a separate episode on that, I'm happy to do it. There's another thing that says Lyndon B. Johnson. So this is an interesting one. In 2003, a Gallup poll indicated that nearly 20% of Americans suspected that Lyndon B. Johnson was involved in the assassination. That's a substantial. That's more than I would expect. Critics of the Warren Commission have accused Johnson of plotting the assassination because he disliked the Kennedys and feared he would be dropped from the Democratic ticket for the 1964 election.
Really?
And there's a lot more to that, but some say that Johnson played a leading part in a conspiracy that involved the Dallas oligarchy and local CIA branches, as well as local FBI branches and the Secret Service. So he was just captaining all of those. And there's also one for Bush. George H.W. Bush said that he was involved in the assassination as a CIA operative in Dealey Plaza, which is this was a really kind of bizarre and outlandish one to me. One with the Cuban government, which I could see that to a degree too, given what was going on at the time. There's also, this one's interesting. Some say that there was a decoy hearse and wound alteration. So yeah,
I do recall that.
This one's a cool one. I mean, it's not cool, but it's an interesting one. So it was presented, a scenario was presented in which conspirators on Air Force One removed Kennedy's body from its original bronze casket and placed it in a shipping casket while en route from Dallas to Washington. Mm-hmm. Once the presidential plane arrived at Andrews Air Force Base, the shipping casket with the president's body in it was surreptitiously taken by a helicopter from the side of the plane that was out of the television camera's view. Kennedy's body was taken to an unknown location, most likely Walter Reed Army Medical Center, to surgically alter the body to make it appear that he was shot only from the rear. Part of this theory comes from a House Select Committee on Assassinations report of an interview of Lieutenant Richard Lipsey on January 18th, 1978, by committee staff members Donald Purdy and Mark Flanagan. According to the report, Lieutenant Richard Lipsey said that he and General Welle had met President Kennedy's body at Andrews Air Force Base. Lipsey, quote, placed the casket in a hearse to be transported to Bethesda Naval Hospital. Lipsey mentioned that he and Welle then flew by helicopter to Bethesda and took the body of JFK into the back of Bethesda. Lipsey said that, quote, a decoy hearse had been driven to the front of Bethesda, and with Lipsey's mention of a decoy hearse, it's been theorized that the casket removed by Lipsey from Air Force One from the side of the plane exposed on television was probably also a decoy and was likely empty. Lab technologist Paul O'Connor was one of the major witnesses supporting another part of this theory that somewhere between Parkland and Bethesda, the president's body was made to appear as if it had been shot from just the rear. O'Connor said that President Kennedy's body arrived at Bethesda inside a body bag in a cheap shipping type of casket, which differed from the description of the ornamental bronze casket and sheet that the body had been wrapped in at Parkland Hospital. O'Connor said that the brain had already been removed by the time it got to Bethesda, and that there were just little pieces of brain matter left inside the skull. A researcher dismisses this theory, that the body was surreptitiously removed from the presidential plane, stating that, as is done with all cargo on airplanes for safety precautions, the coffin and lid were held by steel wrapping cables to prevent shifting during takeoff and landing, and in case of air disturbances in flight. And according to this researcher, the side of the plane away from the television camera was bathed in Klieg lights, and thousands of persons watched along the fence that bent backward along the side, providing, in effect, a well-lit and very public stage for any would-be body snatchers. And then there's more, like there's the Federal Reserve, the Israeli government. So this is just a smattering of them. Of the ones that I've looked at, I gotta say the ones in which our government is involved are the ones that are most convincing to me.
Yeah. I mean, obviously.
Not surprisingly so. Like, our government is so whack that, like, I totally believe it. But I don't know. I mean, what do you think?
I mean, if anything is believable to me, it is the ones involving our government.
Yeah.
The whole thing is a tragedy, obviously.
It is. Yeah.
I think what happened, looking at it, I did wonder why anyone allowed the president to ride in a motorcade so openly. Like, it
Yeah.
seemed like too much of a perfect storm, unfortunately.
It really did. And, like, let's not forget, too, like, Kennedy, there are so many rumors that swirl around Kennedy and his presidency of, like,
yeah.
really shady shit. So, like, it wouldn't be totally out there to say, like, there was probably some extra shit going on behind the scenes, and somebody in the government was like, we can't fucking have this.
Yep.
And, like, orchestrated some shit. Like, I could totally see that happening.
Yeah. And I've been where it happened.
Oh, cool.
It's pretty neat. They have it, like, marked, which is so eerie.
Yeah.
It's so eerie.
That is eerie.
It's to make it such a landmark, too.
Yeah.
Which, I get it, because, like, that's so an American thing to do, by the way.
It is. It's so American.
It also just seems so, like...
Hey, somebody was shot here.
But it also seems so, like, yeah, this, like, totally was done by the government.
Right? Totally, like it does.
Because,
so,
like...
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like, the way that they also, like... I don't know. Because no one's banking off it, but, like, also, like, spotlighted it afterwards.
Yeah.
It's, like, just kind of weird.
It's like sometimes if you make something so obvious, people are like, no, it couldn't possibly be.
Yeah.
And then, like,
But
you know.
but they did,
So,
you know?
But they did.
The thing that
So
always
I think
got to
it's
me with this was the
yeah.
way that they paraded Jackie afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get it, but at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, she just watched her husband get murdered. And then you're going to have her standing there while the vice president gets sworn in. You're going to have her
I
do all these things publicly. What the hell is wrong with you?
I know. I know. The whole thing is like it's all wild to me. So like, yeah, I do believe like the Secret Service could have like been involved. Yeah, I believe like the CIA could have been involved. I believe people at the White like it's like, yeah, I mean it could be,
It kind of
but
all does feel a little connected. Like, it
I
feels
mean it
fishy.
does. It does. Like some of these conspiracy theories that exist, like you got to look at some of the stuff they point out, and you're like, yeah. I mean, it's like a little sketch. So this was a fun one to research. Thank you, honorary cousin Michael, for sending this in. This was a big one to research. So if anybody wants me to go into more of these, because like
Well, I
each of
can
these
go a
could
little
probably
bit more
have,
into a lot of the things you said. So, I mean, we could
yeah.
honestly probably just do an entire episode on this.
Oh, I think there's probably multiple episodes
There
because there's
is
just so much.
there is one thing I want to say about the JFK assassination, and this is just like a cool little fact about it. When he died, this is a cool fact about Queen Elizabeth. She actually
Ah,
had the flag changed and a few things done that was like not protocol for the royal palace. And like people were like, "No, you can't do that." And she's like, "Watch me."
she's like, I'm the queen. What do you mean I
Yeah.
can't do
Yeah.
that?
Tell me again how I can't do it. And she did, because she had met them and she had like special things for.
They had good
She had
relations.
good relation,
Yeah.
like not at first, but like in the long run
Yeah.
did. And she felt a certain way, and like this is just one of the many things that she actually did that like kind of gets oversight, But I thought it was cool that she did. So
That is cool. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, so this was like I think honestly several of these conspiracies just alone could be an episode by itself,
yeah.
like just one of them. So like there's a lot to this. So if you guys want more, let us know. Happy to do extra research because these were all just kind of like summaries. But what do you have
So
for us?
I don't know what I have. I don't know if I have
Oh?
an alien. I don't know if I have a cryptid. I don't know what this is. I don't
Oh my god, we're going to figure it out.
Yeah. So I didn't know I was going back here. Just kind of stumbled upon this.
And
Nebraska,
yet,
are
yep.
you okay? I'm
Nebraska.
worried about you.
Y'all are getting
Genuinely.
up there with Japan.
Yeah. I have the Flying Man of Falls City, Nebraska.
Oh?
Flying Creature of Falls City, Nebraska. The Flying Thing, the Flying Monstrosity. That's
All
all
of the above.
the labels that I have found. Falls City is situated in Richardson County, Nebraska, and it was the site of this bizarre encounter. And it was described as a demonic creature, apparently. So there you
Same.
go. This alleged demon appeared to be adorned in some kind of mechanical harness. Not quite a jetpack, but it honestly just looks like if you took the wings of an airplane, just the wings and like the engine, and put it
Yeah.
on like a jacket.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
But then it has like feet like a crow. It kind of looks like an alien was dressing up to be Mothman.
Yeah, it sounds like
On it.
like a really cool Halloween
Yeah.
costume.
But the wings like had lights on it, obviously, and like the body of it had like definitely some sort of buttons and control panel.
I see. I'm looking it up. It's like an alien crossed with Buzz Lightyear.
There you go. There you go.
I mean, is
Cassie
it
did it for
not?
me. There, yeah.
It's so weird. It's like an alien was like, I want to fly, but not in a spaceship. So watch me.
Exactly. I want to feel
Yeah.
the wind on my face.
Yes, none of these windshields
It's like
anymore.
an alien version of a motorcycle.
Yeah,
There
or
you
like
go.
paragliding.
There you go. Yeah.
Strange. Okay.
So it allowed this creature to fly through the air. Um, so it was horrific. It's a horrific entity, as people put it. Um, they, some people were describing it as a fallen angel.
Oh?
This was in the later months of 1956. It was a 9-foot creature, unlike anything um, that, and this person is being referred to as Mr. Hanks, but it is strongly suggested that this is not the name of the person. They want their identity protected.
Got it. I gotta be honest though, like if they're calling this a fallen angel, right? In the Bible, aren't angels fucking weird looking? Like, don't
Apparently,
they
yeah.
describe them as fucking
And
wild? Yeah.
you know, given
I
the
mean,
location, Nebraska is apparently like Bible Belt-ish. So, I guess it makes sense.
could see it. Mm-hmm.
It was it. Mr. Hanks was out late in the later months of 1956 when he came face to face with this hideous 9-foot tall creature, unlike anything he had ever seen before. And this case was investigated by Ken Gerard, an expert on flying humanoid encounters.
I want to be that. I want to be that. I want. How does one become an expert on flying humanoid encounters?
I don't
Help
know.
me, someone. Tell me the career path.
He said that Hanks claimed to have seen was like something out of the works of fiction. Non-fiction.
Yeah, literally some sci-fi shit. Yeah.
Multicolored lights spanned the undersides of this monster's 15-foot wings, illuminating the fact that they appeared to be made from shiny metal like aluminum. These wings seemed to be strapped to the entity's body, and some kind of panel sat in the middle of the creature's chest. Mr. Hanks speculated that this contained a control mechanism of sorts, which could be used to manage the critter's flight. The critter.
Critter.
The critter.
Not the word choice that I would use for like a 9-foot tall, crazy ass looking thing, but yeah.
The critter emitted a haunting hiss, which sent chills down and up the spine of the terrified witness.
Same.
The most frightening aspect, it gets worse, of this happening was the appearance of the monster's face. It was described as having large and watery eyes, which stared at Hanks with malevolence. Its skin was brown and battered, and I mean, yeah, you're exposed to the elements there, dude.
You're flying around and shit. Yeah, like your eyes are gonna water. It needs goggles.
The skin was compared to leather.
Oh my god, he got suntanned. Okay.
These horrific features were what prompted Hanks to speculate that the critter before him must have been something from the depths of hell.
Oh, we're going in the opposite direction now. Well, fallen angel. Okay, yes. So
this bona fide hellspawn didn't stick around at the scene for long. Instead, it took flight within mere moments of catching sight of the horrified witness and completely vanished into the sky just seconds after that. The monster would never return again to Falls City, and can only imagine how relieved Mr. Hanks is about that fact. It seems Mr. Hanks was the only witness of the flying monstrosity, the flying man, the fallen angel, the demonic creature. But is it aliens? Is it a cryptid? Is it a perhaps somebody who wanted to be Mothman, so they created a way to fly?
It's Icarus from Greek mythology.
There you go. Oh, I like that one.
How odd. I don't know what you call this thing.
I think it's aliens.
I think that guy was probably on drugs. I
Ooh,
hope
drugs.
it's aliens. Drugs, always drugs,
but aliens.
But aliens. I mean, it sounds like an alien to me. But I guess my question is like, why was the alien like, I don't want my spaceship. I need to feel the breeze. I don't really know.
Maybe the alien lost flying privileges of the spaceship.
Maybe. Or maybe the spaceship crashed and this was like his escape pod, but his wings.
The spaceship crashed and he was ejected from his seat.
And he got this shit.
Yeah.
This is like his...
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the fact that like one dude saw it.
The thing that I don't like is it very much describes the typical... what you would imagine an alien to look like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, So that leads more towards drugs.
Drugs, or like, I'm bored because I'm in Nebraska.
Yeah.
No offense, Nebraska.
But
And
at
he
the
was
same
like,
time, why is he hiding his identity? So that also makes me go, okay, maybe he doesn't want his 15 minutes of fame. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
Definitely, he's trying very hard to hide his identity.
This was 1955, did you say?
56. So
56. So we're heading into, there was like an era there that was like peak early alien era. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if he did see it and he's like, yeah, hide my identity. I mean, I get why, because everybody back then would be like, you're going in somewhere where they're going to do really bad things to you. Yeah, so like, I mean, I get that.
It's a little bit of a head scratcher, right?
It is. Good find.
Nebraska, are you okay?
Yeah, Nebraska, you guys cool? I don't know. Like, I really don't even know what's happening over there. Do you guys get tornadoes?
Yes.
Maybe I should relocate.
They don't have flying spiders, though.
That's right. So, I mean, half of the horrors would be gone. Well, what an episode this was.
This was a doozy.
I don't know what to think about anything.
No, I definitely don't either. I'm leaving with head scratching.
Yeah. Listeners, as always, let us know your thoughts. And until next time,
stay strange.